What's up, you guys? Thank you for clicking on this video. So as you can tell by the title, we have some interesting leaks to cover in today's video. Now, these technically aren't new leaks from what I can see and from what I remember. These leaks came from a Baidu Chinese user about 2 months ago. I originally saw these on TFW and I just dismissed it because a lot of it seemed, I don't know, just not true and just odd info in general. But as time has gone on the last couple months, a lot of this info has basically turned out to be true. We got the Trypticon reissue, which was, I think, first heard about from this leak. There was, like, one of the first bullet points here is that Titan class would be changing and that they're going to sell Titans in a different way, which obviously that leak was right again. So I just want to go through this leak here and just discuss some things because it seems like, a couple things are already true out of this leak that, if we're going by what's already happened, that this leak is basically 100% facts possibly. So let's go through these. I think there's like 6 bullet points here. So first one here, probably no new Titan character. Hasbro will sell Titan in another way. So that's basically one of the ones I was talking about that was basically confirmed earlier this month with Star Convoy and the new price point. Obviously, nobody at the time believed it or knew what this person was saying. That, like, we just assumed that he was saying that Titan class is going to go away, which went against what JT Prime 17 was saying, and he's a lot more credible than this random Baidu user. But obviously, we now know what this person meant. And number 2 here, there will be fan voting. So it seems like we may be getting fan votes back in 2025, which I honestly really do like. I kind of miss the fan votes. Somebody, when I was a teenager back then and they were doing those fan votes, I think it was like, every year they would do them. It was really fun to see who would win and who would get a figure in the coming year or couple years based off of that fan vote, and just speculating on stuff like that was really fun back then. So I'm really excited to see that there's a huge potential here that fan votes are returning, and I'm really curious to see what characters they're going to pick nowadays, considering that they're going with this huge multiversal thing in Generations the last few years. So it seems like they're going to want to pick an eclectic bunch of characters that isn't just G1 or G1 adjacent like what they used to do back when fan votes first started. Number 3 here, there might be Octane and Broadside in 2025. Wow, okay, so this could be really cool or really bad depending on, how the figures turn out and if this is true, but Octane and Broadside are some G1 characters that people have been asking for a very long time now, myself included, especially Broadside. For somebody who loves the records and the IDW run and stuff like that, I really want a Broadside done badly. Now, if it's the G1 version, I don't know. I'd have to wait and see. If it's like the G1 cartoon version where I think he had like the mouth and stuff, I prefer the more toy accurate other slight redesigns of him that aren't really like slavish to the cartoon design that he was in for like 5 seconds of the cartoon. So I don't know, it's going to depend for me personally on what design they choose. I'd assume, judging by the trend the last 5 years in Generations, that it would probably just be more of a classic either cartoon or toy accurate figure. Probably more so cartoon accurate, going by how Sandstorm was done earlier this year, and he was a wrecker as well. So it makes sense, and seeing Broadside get made in 2025 and hearing about this isn't really too surprising, judging by how many wreckers we've gotten updated in the modern era the last couple years. And I definitely feel like we're going to get a Whirl and Roadbuster at some point soon as well. In Octane, we've gotten all the other Decepticon triple changers from that era of G1, almost all of them. And Octane is one of the last ones, or I think he is the last one we need, correct me if I'm wrong. And it just makes sense, from what they've been releasing the last couple years and what they've been redoing from older characters. It doesn't really surprise me, but the thing that does surprise me is that we could be getting them next year because all the slots are taken up. So it really begs the question, how are these going to be released? What I'd assume, what I'm thinking and speculating here is it could be a made-to-order, possibly 2-pack. Make Broadside some sort of a Commander Plus type figure a little bit, and then Octane could be like a leader class figure. Sell them in a 2-pack for, I don't know, maybe like 130, 140 or something like that, and just throw it up on Hasbro Pulse as a made-to-order release. That could very well be done. That might be the case, or they could be two separate made-to-order releases next year, because it seems like Hasbro does want to go through with more made-to-order type releases in the future, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get two next year for Transformers. But again, none of that's confirmed. Next bullet point here is, he said primes are cool, but he prefers the design of Onyx Prime. He was implying he has seen pics of some primes. I don't know, I can't remember who he is in this context here. I think it was one of the designers, if I'm not mistaken, at that Cybertron Con Fest that was being interviewed, but I can't remember for sure. So he's saying all the primes look cool, which really goes in line with what we're seeing and hearing from the future figures that we're going to be getting next year. Nothing wrong with that, not really much else to discuss there. Number 5, he says, possible reissue of Titans Return Trypticon, and the thigh screws problem will be fixed, although I think Trypticon's problem is not in the screws. I have no idea what the problem could be. I never owned Trypticon, and I do remember hearing that the problem was fixed in the first run of Trypticon, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I definitely feel like it is going to be fixed, definitely this time around. And obviously, you know, this person was right about the Titans Return Trypticon reissue as well. So he's right about two things so far on this list. So it's a very strong chance that he's going to be right about most, if not all, of the things that he's talking about here. And the number 6 bullet point here is, Primus is coming. The weapons from 13 Primes can be built as Primus's weapon. All right, so I was kind of right here. Primus, we could be getting him either next year or 2026. I'd assume 2026 if he's not a HasLab. Maybe he's going to be the Titan class for 2026, I'd assume. But who knows at this point? He could either be HasLab or Titan. That's what I'm going by right now. And I'm really curious to see how the weapons for all the 13 Primes here are going to combine, because we've already seen the weapons for Fallen, Prima, and Solus, and Star Convoy. So how are we going to figure out the configuration here? Who's going to show it to us? Because it's obviously not officially shown or talked about yet. Granted, it is early in the toy line. We've only seen like 4 of the 13. So it makes sense, but at the same time, it's a little interesting here, because if all of the weapons from every 13 Prime figure is supposed to combine into one weapon for Primus, like this big hulking weapon, I can only imagine how huge that's going to be, guys. How is it going to combine? I'm really curious to see the engineering on this, because it could be really cool, or it could just be super mediocre and bland, as it is with, honestly, a lot of those big weapon combinations that are sort of random and kind of like an afterthought over the years. We've gotten a lot of those, and, you know, most of the time they really aren't that good. So I'm hoping, if this is true, that this big, huge weapon combination for Primus here is actually really cool looking and a good execution of the idea here. And this last piece of info here is very interesting. He says here, and I quote, he also said he heard these infos from an overseas friend, and this is the second time he talked about Fortress. He used to say a designer is comic fans. Bear with me, guys. It's broken English because it's from like a Chinese social media app. And he wants to make IDW Fortress and Overlord using Armada Megatron and Titans Return Overlord. Probably remold like how Hasbro made the new IDW Optimus. So I want to know whose idea this is at Hasbro or Takara, what designer they were talking to, if this is true. Fortress Maximus, his IDW design, he does have treads on his shoulders. There are slight similarities to Armada Megatron, so this could be a case of them heavily retooling Armada Megatron just to save a little bit of money, because they did the same thing with DevCon. They've done this with a lot of characters recently. Cybertron Starscream used parts from Siege Starscream, so it may not be a traditional retool in the sense of, you know, that them just retooling some parts around the body, but generally it's the same figure like Armada Megatron. It could be an extensive retool to the point where it's almost unrecognizable, but it still shares some key parts that you could see on the mold of the figure. That's what I'm assuming would happen if they did do an IDW Fortress Maximus from Armada Megatron, which really doesn't seem like a bad idea, because again, they do share certain similarities in terms of the tank mode kibble and just the overall design. So it could really be good if executed well, like a lot of these recent crazy out there retools have been, except for Vector Prime in my opinion, or it could just be absolutely terrible and mediocre looking, like how they handled Vector Prime, and in my opinion, like how they handled that IDW Optimus and Megatron 2-pack that came out earlier this year. I really was not crazy over that. I didn't think they did those designs justice. That Siege Megatron mold was awful, and I don't know, I just didn't really like how they changed Optimus's design so much with him being based off of the War for Cybertron game mold. So who knows? This could be good if true. And Overlord, being from Titan's Return, Overlord, it makes sense, you know, that Overlord figure isn't too bad. It's still kind of held up nowadays with the modern era, so I wouldn't be too mad at that if they did retool it some to make it more accurate to the IDW design, and of course retool it to add some more articulation that's missing on that original release. I'm pretty sure he's missing waist swivel, wrist swivel, and he could use some better engineering in the arms for articulation, in my opinion. So, and maybe they could remove the headmaster gimmick. That would kind of be nice to get a better functionality in the head there, and maybe open the room for some better engineering elsewhere on the figure. If they got the headmaster gimmick, that could, you know, leave some room for other stuff in the budget for that figure. So that'd be really cool if they changed some of those things with him. So it makes sense here what this guy is saying, but, you know, obviously if this is true is the real question here. So I don't know, guys, your guess as good as mine, but 2 of these things out of this leaked list from a couple months back have turned out to be true so far. So I don't know, your guess as good as mine. Time will tell, but a lot of interesting things here that if are true, you know, this could be really cool to see in the future. But yeah, guys, let me know down in the comments below, how do y'all feel about this leaked list? Do you think the rest of the things here are true, or do you not? All of my social medias are linked down below, including my email, if you guys want to hit me up about business inquiries, or if you want to message me about whatever, or if you want to commission a diorama from me, because I make dioramas for people for their stop motions, photography, or irregular display shelves in your homes. You could either hit me up on any of my social media accounts, or just email me and we can work out a deal. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye.